Dear students, good morning to all. Now we will going to discuss about chapter 12 reproduction in plants. Already we learned the previous portions. Just to recall the previous portions, okay? What is reproduction? What is reproduction? Or you remember? The production of new individuals from their parents is known as reproduction. Okay. Next, what is the vegetative parts in plants? What are the vegetative parts? Roots, stems and leaves. That is the vegetative parts. Next, what are the reproductive parts in plant? Flower. Flower is the flowers are the reproductive parts of a plant. Okay. What are the modes of reproduction? What are the modes of reproduction? Or you remember? What are the modes of reproduction? Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Okay. Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. What is asexual reproduction? What is asexual reproduction? The new plants are obtained without production of seeds. That is asexual reproduction. Okay. Are you clear? Or you remember, students? Asexual reproductions. What is mean by sexual reproduction? Plants can give rise to new plants without seeds. That is asexual reproduction. What is mean by sexual reproduction? New plants are obtained from seeds. New plants are obtained from seeds. That is sexual reproductions. Okay, what are the modes of reproduction? Asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Okay, what is mean by sexual reproduction? What is mean by asexual reproduction? The plants can give rise to new individuals. New plants without seeds is very must. Without seeds, that is asexual reproductions. What is mean by sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction, new plants are obtained from seeds. That is sexual reproduction. Okay. Next, what is vegetative propagation? Or you remember vegetative propagation? The vegetative parts of the plant is known as vegetative propagation. What is the vegetative parts of plants? Roots, stems, leaves and buds. That is a vegetative parts of plants. Okay, are you clear? What are the types of asexual reproduction? What are the types of asexual reproductions? The asexual reproductions are vegetative propagation. Okay, vegetative propagations, budding and then fragmentation and spore formation. Okay, that is include the asexual reproductions. Okay, next, what is mean by listen. Next, what is budding? What is budding? What is mean by budding? The multiply every few hours insufficient nutrients are made available to them. They remember that yeast example, budding example, yeast. The example of budding, yeast. Okay. Vegetative propagation example, stem cutting of rose. And then potato plant sprouting from an eye. Next, ginger with new plants sprouting from it. Okay. Next, what is mean by budding? The small bulb-like projections coming out from yeast cell is called bud. That is a bud. What is bud? The small bulb-like projections coming out from yeast cell is called bud. Are you clear? Or you remember, students? What is mean by bud? Okay. What is the example of fragmentation? What is the example of fragmentation? Spirogyra. Spirogyra is a fragmentation. Example of fragmentation. Okay. Next is spore formation. What is the example of spore formation? Fungus. Fungus is the example of spore formations. And then fern. Fern plant also example of spore formations. Okay. Very clear, students? Okay. Now we will going to discuss about sexual reproductions. Now we will going to discuss about sexual reproductions. Okay. Okay. Listen. The flowers are the reproductive parts of a plant. Stamens are the male reproductive part and pistil is the female reproductive part. Okay. Sexual reproductions. You know that the flowers are the reproductive parts of a plant. Underline the word, students. Flowers are the reproductive parts of a plant. Stamens are the male reproductive part. Underline the word stamen. Stamen is a male reproductive part of plant. And then pistil is the female reproductive part. What is the male reproductive part? Stamens. What is the female reproductive part? Pistil. So, students, all of you underline the word. Book page number 136. Are you clear? Okay. What is the, listen, stamen. Stamen is a male reproductive part of plant. Pistil is the female reproductive part of plant. Okay. Next. Next activity 12.4. Book page number 137. Okay. Take a mustard, China rose, petunia flower and separate its reproductive parts. Study the various parts of a stamen and pistil. Flowers which contain either only pistil or only stamens are called unisexual flowers. Bracket the word, students. What is mean by unisexual flowers? So, students, all of you bracket the word. Flowers which contain either only pistil or only stamens are called unisexual flowers. Bracket the word, students. Flowers which contain both stamens and pistil are called bisexual flowers. Flowers which contain both stamens and pistil are called bisexual flowers. Bracket the word, student. Flowers which contain both stamens and pistil are called bisexual flowers. Okay. Example, corn, papaya and cucumber produce unisexual flowers. Okay. What are the example of unisexual flowers? So, students, all of you should underline the word. Okay. Corn, papaya and cucumber produce unisexual flowers, whereas mustard, rose and petunia have bisexual flowers. What is the bisexual flowers? What is the bisexual flowers? Mustard, rose and petunia have bisexual flowers. What is the example of unisexual flowers? What is the example of bisexual flowers? So, students, all of you should underline the word. Okay. Next, but male and female unisexual flowers may present in the same plant. Unisexuals means what? Male and female unisexual flowers may be present in the same plant or different plant. Okay, underline the word, students. Next, male gametes. Okay, what does mean male gametes? Another contains pollen grains which produce male gametes. A pistil consists of stigma, style and ovary. The ovary contains one or more ovules. The female gamete or egg is formed in the ovule. Underline the word, students. The female gamete or egg is formed an ovule. Okay. Underline the word, students. The male gamete or egg is formed in the ovule. In sexual reproductions, a male and female gamete fuse to form a zygote. Okay, bracket the word, students. Define zygote. In sexual reproduction, a male and a female gamete fuse to form a zygote. Okay, in sexual reproductions, a male and female gamete fuse to form a zygote. Can you understand? Are you clear, students? Okay, define zygote. In sexual reproductions, male and female gamete fuse to form a zygote. Okay. Next, listen, all of you see this picture. This one is a stamen. Okay, stamen is a male reproductive part of plant. All of you see this picture. All of you see your book page number 137. In your class work note, all of you should draw this diagram, stamen and pistil, reproductive parts of flowers. What are the reproductive parts of flowers? What are the reproductive parts? Male and female reproductive parts. Which one is the male reproductive part? Stamen. Which one is the female reproductive part? Pistil. That's all. Okay. Which one is the male reproductive part? Stamen. Which one is the female reproductive part? Pistil. Can you understand? Okay, this one is a stamen. Stamen is a male reproductive part. Okay, see this picture. This one is a anther. This one is a filament. Then next one, pistil. Pistil. This one is the top part. Stigma. This one is a style. This one is a ovary. This one is a yellow in color. The green in color. The light green in color ovary. Then dark green color in yellow color. The ovule. Okay, that is a pistil. Okay, all of you see and practice this diagram. Okay, in your classwork note, all of you should draw this diagram in your classwork note. Okay. Okay, next, pollinations. Okay, pollinations. Next topic, pollinations. What is mean by pollinations? Pollen grains have through protective coat which prevents them from dying up. Okay, what is mean by pollination? Generally, pollen grains have a tough protective coat which prevents them from dying up. Okay, that is a pollination. Since the pollen grains are light, they can be carried by wind. They carried by wind. Listen, all of you underline the word. The pollen grains are light. They can be carried by wind or water. Underline the word, students. Wind or water. Insects visits flowers and carry away pollen on their bodies. Some of the pollen lands on the stigma of a flower of the same kind. The transfer of pollen from anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollinations. Okay, so all of you bracket the word, students. Define pollinations. Define pollination. The transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. So students, all of you should bracket the word. Define pollination. Define pollination. The transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. Okay, can you understand? Are you clear, students? If the pollen lands on the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant, it is called self-pollination. Bracket the word, students. Pollination. Self-pollinations. What is mean by self-pollinations? What are the types of pollination? There are two types of pollination. Self-pollination and cross-pollination. First, what is pollinations? What is pollination? The transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. Okay, can you understand? What is the different kinds of pollination? Self-pollination and cross-pollinations. What is the difference between self-pollination and cross-pollination? First, define self-pollination. So students, all of you should bracket the word self-pollination. The pollen lands on the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant. It is called self-pollination. So all of you bracket the word, students. Define self-pollination. Okay. Then next one. When the pollen of a flower lands on the stigma of a flower of a different part of the same kind, it is called cross-pollination. So students, all of you bracket the word, students. Cross-pollination. Okay. The pollen of a flower lands on the stigma of a flower of a different part of the same kind. It is called cross-pollination. It is called cross-pollination. Okay. Listen, what is mean by pollinations? What is the difference between self-pollinations and cross-pollination? So all of you should bracket the answer, students. It is an interior questions, self-pollinations and cross-pollinations. Then listen, all of you see this picture. All of you see this picture, students. Your book page number flowers. Okay, pollination in flower, book page number 137. Self pollination, cross pollination. So if you see this picture, this one is a stigma, this one is a pollens. Okay, this one is anther, this one is a stigma. Chariya. Okay, self pollination, cross pollination. Can you understand, students? Self pollination, cross pollinations. What is mean by self pollinations? The pollens land on the stigma of a same flower. Stigma. This one is a self pollination. This one is a stigma. Okay, the stigma of the same flower, it is called, the pollens land on the stigma of the same flower, it is called self pollination. Then next one, cross pollinations. What is mean by cross pollinations? The stigma of another flower of same plant, of the different plant of the same kind, it is called cross pollination. Okay, next one, fertilization. What is mean by fertilization? The cells which results after fusion of the gametes is called zygote. Bracket the word, student. That is fertilization. Zygote. Fusion and that gamete is called zygote. The process of fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. The zygote develops into an embryo. The zygote develops into an embryo. Okay. The cells which results after fusion of the gametes is called zygote. The process of fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. So all of you bracket the word. To form zygote, that is a process of fertilization. The zygote develops into an embryo. The zygote develops into an embryo. Well, if you see this picture, fertilization, zygote formation. Fertilization means what? The formation of zygote. Okay, the formation of zygote. What is mean by fertilization? The cells which results after fusion of the gametes is called zygote. Okay, then the process, the zygote process, fusion of male. The zygote is fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. Fertilization means what? The form of zygote. The zygote develops into embryo. The zygote develops into an embryo. That's all. Listen. All of you see this picture. Students, all of you see this picture. In your book, page number 138, fertilizations. First, all of you should underline the word. The cells which results after fusion of gamete is called zygote. Okay, then fertilization also bracket the word. The process of fusion of the the cells which results after fusion of gametes is called zygote. The process of fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. The zygote develops into embryo. So all of you bracket the word, students. Fertilization. Define fertilization. Okay. Okay, listen. Fertilization formation, zygote formation, pollen grain, germinating, then pollen tube, then the dark one, zygote formation. Okay, this one is a zygote formation. This one is a ovum. Okay, ovum, then pollen grain, pollen tube, then zygote formation. That is a fertilization. Then next one, listen. Section of an apple and almond. Okay, section of an apple and almond. The example. Okay, the example of fertilization. Then next one. Fruits and seed formation. Next one, fruits and seed formation. After fertilization, the ovary grows into a fruit and other parts of the flower fall off. The fruit is the ripened ovary. Underline the word. The fruit is the ripened ovary. The seeds develop from the ovules. Underline the word. The seeds develop from the ovules. The seed contains an embryo. The seed contains an embryo enclosed in a protective seed coat. Is very important. Underline the word. One more question. The seed contains an embryo enclosed in a protective seed coat. Enclosed in a protective seed coat. Underline the word, students. Underline the word. Next. Some fruits are fleshy and juicy, such as mangoes and orange. This is also one mark question. So underline the word. One mark answer. Some fruits are fleshy and juicy fruits. Which one is the fleshy and juicy fruits? Mango and oranges. Some fruits are hard like almonds and walnuts. Underline the word. Some fruits are hard like almonds and walnuts. Underline the word, students. Next, seed dispersal. What is mean by seed dispersal? What is mean by seed dispersal? The nature, same kind of plants grow at different places. This happens because seeds are dispersed to different places. This happens because seeds are dispersed to different places. Sometimes after a walk through a forest or a field or a park, you may have found seeds or fruits sticking to your clothes. First, listen. Seed dispersal. The nature, same kind of plants to grow at different pots. This happens because seeds are dispersed to different places. Underline the word, students. Sometimes after a walk through a forest or a field or a park, you may have found seeds or fruits sticking to your clothes. Sticking to your clothes. Underline the word, students. Underline the word. Next, the severe competitions of sunlight, water, minerals and space. As a result, the seeds would not grow into healthy plants. Underline the word. Plants benefit by seed dispersal. Plants benefit by seed dispersal. Listen, what do you think will happen if all seeds of plant were to fall on the same place and grow there? This severe competition for sunlight, water, minerals and space. Underline the word. As a result, the seeds would not grow to healthy plants. As a result, the seeds would not grow to healthy plants. The plants benefit by seed dispersal. The plants benefit by seed dispersal. Okay. It prevents competitions between the plant and its own seedlings for sunlight, water and minerals. Underline the word. They prevent competitions between the plant and its own seedling for sunlight and water and minerals. It also enables the plants to invent new habits for wider distribution. Wide of the distributions. Underline the word, students. Next, seeds and fruits of plants are carried away by wind, water and animals. Seeds and fruits of plants are carried away by wind, water and animals. Underline the word. Wigged seeds such as those of drumsticks and maple. Underline the word, students. The wigged seeds such as those of drumstick and maple. See the picture. This one is a seeds of drumstick seeds. This one is a B picture is a maple picture. Then the seeds of grasses or hairy seeds of madder and hairy fruit of sunflower. See the picture 12.14. The A picture is a hairy fruit of sunflower and B picture hairy seed of madder. Okay, see this picture. Get blown off with the wind for away places. Some seeds are dispersed by water. Underline the word. Some seeds are dispersed by water. These fruits or seeds usually develop floating ability in the form of spongy or fibrous outer coconut. Some seeds are dispersed by animals. Underline the word. Some seeds are dispersed in water, some seeds are dispersed in air, some seeds are dispersed by animals, especially spiny seeds with the hooks which gets attached to the bodies of animals and are carried to distant places. Example of xanthium. Example of xanthiums and urina. Okay, underline the word, students. Some seeds are dispersed when the fruits burst with sudden jerks. The seeds are scattered far from the parent plant. This happens in the case of castor and blossoms. Okay, underline the word, students. Some seeds are dispersed when the fruits burst with sudden jerks. The seeds are scattered far from the parent plant. This happens in the case of castor and blossoms. If you see this picture, the xanthium, this one is a xanthium picture. Okay. The examples of some seeds are dispersed by animals. Example, xanthium picture. Listen. All of you listen carefully, students. This one is a book bag keywords. So, students, all of you should write in your classwork note. Okay. The 12th chapter, reproduction in plants, keywords. Okay. This keywords, all keywords should write in your classwork note. Write neatly, write beautifully. Okay. Without spelling mistakes. Okay. So, students, all of you should write this keywords in your book bag keywords. Keywords only you write in your classwork note. No need choose fill-ups and match the following. Okay, no need choose fill-ups and match the following. Students should write only keywords. Okay, in your classwork note. Okay, are you clear? If you any doubt, you contact with me. Thank you.